AI is repricing everything this week. The stock market, the labor market, and the tools you and I use every single day. 3 stories, all connected and all pointing in the same direction. Let's get into it. Story number 1. The SaaSpocalypse just entered its 2nd month. And this week, it got a thesis paper. On Friday the 23rd, Citrini Research published what they're calling the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis. The argument is simple and brutal. A competent developer working with Claude Code or Codex can now replicate the core functionality of a mid-market SaaS product in weeks. Not months, weeks. So CIOs reviewing $500,000 annual software renewals are starting to ask a very dangerous question. What if we just built this ourselves? Citrini predicts that PE-backed SaaS companies like Zendesk will default on billions of debt. They paint a scenario where the S&P 500 drops 38% and unemployment hits 10.2% by 2028. IBM had its worst single-day stock decline in 25 years after the report dropped. Now, Citadel Securities pushed back hard, called it overblown. And look, the Citrini piece reads more like a scenario than a prediction. But the market moved anyway. It tells you something about sentiment. The same week, OpenAI formalized what they call frontier alliances with McKinsey, BCG, Accenture, and Gemini. Their frontier platform lets companies build and deploy AI agents that navigate existing software, manage databases, and execute multi-step business logic autonomously. And now the biggest consulting firms on earth are the distribution channel. That bypasses traditional software vendors entirely. ServiceNow is down more than 20% year to date. But then Salesforce posted Q4 earnings that told the other side. $11.18 billion in revenue. 50% quarter-over-quarter growth in their Agentforce product. 22,000 paid deals in Q4. $800 million in Agentforce annual recurring revenue. Software stocks broadly recovered in the final days of February. Accenture up 6%, Atlassian up 7%, Workday and ServiceNow both up 3%. Now here's the part that matters for your practice and for mine. The SaaSpocalypse is not anti-software. It's anti-static. The market is sorting companies into 2 buckets, those pivoting to agents and those defending per-seat pricing. The first bucket is recovering. The second bucket is bleeding. And if you replace per-seat software licensing with per-hour compliance billing, the math is identical. The same repricing is coming for professional services firms that can't show clients why they're worth more than AI can do alone. Okay, story number 2. And this is the one I want you to sit with. The Dallas Federal Reserve published research on February the 24th that puts real data behind something we've been saying all year. In the top 10% of AI-exposed industries, wages are up 8.5% since fall of 2022, but employment is down 1%. Those numbers are moving in opposite directions, and the split tells you exactly who wins and who loses. AI substitutes for entry-level workers. It augments experienced ones. Occupations with high experience premiums, lawyers, credit analysts, marketing specialists, maybe even accountants, are seeing stronger wage growth as AI exposure increases. Meanwhile, under 25-year-old employment in computer systems design has dropped 5%. The job finding rate for young knowledge workers is falling, not from layoffs. Companies just aren't hiring for roles that AI can handle. And the hiring data backs this up. Knowledge work job postings fell 23% year over year in Q4 2025. That's the steepest 7-year decline since 2028. Writing adjacent roles are down 27% from their 2023 peaks. Now, this isn't a recession story. This is a structural replacement story. The roles are disappearing because the work moved to machines. Then, on February 25th, Perplexity launched something they're calling it a general purpose digital worker. $200 a month. Now, if you saw our piece on Friday about Maltbot, where over 200,000 people gave AI agents autonomous access to their digital lives, Perplexity Computer is the managed commercial version of that same demand signal. Same thesis, different delivery. Curated instead of chaotic. Enterprise-facing instead of open source. Priced like a fractional employee, not a software subscription. We're going to write more about this tomorrow. Now here's the CAS angle on this entire labor story. The data edge and the wringable neck. The frameworks we talk about every week aren't just editorial positions anymore. They're backed by Federal Reserve data. Your experienced team members are becoming more valuable as AI exposure increases. But the junior talent pipeline is drying up from both sides. Fewer people entering, fewer firms hiring for those roles. And digital workers are now available for $2,400 a year. AI isn't a stopgap for the talent shortage. It's becoming the permanent answer. Okay, story number 3. Now for something a little different. 3 labs shipped major AI models in February. And I don't want to do the usual, here's who won the benchmark race thing. I want to talk about what actually changed. What new capabilities showed up that didn't exist 30 days ago? And where they're useful for your practice. Let's start with Claude. Anthropic released Opus 4.6 on February the 5th. 3 things matter here. First, a 1 million context window. That means you can feed it an entire chart of accounts, 12 months of bank statements, and client correspondence, and your firm's SOPs. In a single session, not splitting things up, no losing context between conversations. That's context engineering at a scale that wasn't possible last month. Second, a compaction API. This automatically summarizes earlier parts of long conversations so the AI never forgets what you've discussed 3 hours ago. Run a full monthly close review from start to finish without the model losing the thread. That's new. And third, adaptive thinking. The model now decides dynamically when and how deeply to reason through a problem. Routine categorization gets fast processing, but complex text analysis gets deep reasoning. It allocates intelligence where it matters. Sonnet 4.6 followed on February the 17th and brought much of that to the mid-tier. Million token context, improved browser-based automation. It's now the default Claude model. Every Claude user gets a material upgrade without changing anything. Now, Google shipped Gemini 3.1 Pro on February the 19th. The standout here is a tiered thinking system. You choose the depth, quick mode for tasks like transaction categorization and routine queries, deep mode for complex analysis like tax research, advisory scenarios, anything that needs the model to really work through the problem. That's practical. It means you're not paying for or waiting on deep reasoning when you just need a quick answer. It also generates interactive visual outputs directly from text, client-ready diagrams, process maps, cash flow visuals without opening design software. That's artifact engineering in practice. Polished outputs that serve both your client and the AI's own memory for future work. And OpenAI released Codex Spark on February the 12th. This is their first model purpose-built for real-time coding. Over 1,000 tokens per second, 15 times faster code generation than standard models. It's not just about a coding assistant. OpenAI describes it as an agent that can debug, deploy, monitor, write documentation, and run tests. They positioned it alongside their Frontier platform for managing AI coworkers. Their language, not mine. For firms building custom automation or client dashboards, the iteration speed removes one of the last practical barriers between we should build that and it's done. Now here's the thread that ties all these 3 together. The real signal isn't the benchmarks, it's the language. Anthropic talks about computer use. Google talks about thinking levels. OpenAI talks about AI co-workers. Every lab is moving from assistant to operator, from co-pilot to colleague. That's the same shift we've been tracking in markets and labor. The framing has changed. And when the framing changes, the business model follows. So here's what all of this adds up to. Every story this week connects. Markets are repricing static software. Labor data shows experienced practitioners gaining value while entry-level roles vanish. And the tools available to your team are materially better than they were even 30 days ago. Larger context windows, smarter reasoning, faster execution. The firms that treat these as three separate stories will miss the pattern. The firms that see one structural shift and equip their teams accordingly are the ones that will own the next 12 months. Your team doesn't need more encouragement to experiment. They need structured training that turns scattered tool use into repeatable operational capability. That's what our AI Black Belt training delivers. 5 progressive disciplines, from workflow engineering through agent orchestration, designed to build the skills that the market, the labor data, and the models themselves are telling you your team needs. Visit the AIaccountant.ai to request team pricing. The gap between using AI and implementing AI is where practices win or lose right now. Close the gap. Start this week.